Oh,
Alright. Take 2 at this shit. We're doing power rankings. I'm here, you know me. Trevor, TP123101, whatever the fuck you want to call me. I got Panda, the Sleepy Panda, the man, the myth, the legend. He's still not going to introduce himself this time. And I got Shy.
I
why is there beer in this parking spot?
Why not?
for you to take.
So, first things first team we got up here is, in fact, to no one's surprise, I've been pretty vocal about my dislike of this team. We have Panda with the Toronto Tyrannotars.
Fuck yeah, still haven't improved team quality here.
So it's I will give you this much. It is better than some other teams I've seen you draft. It's not saying much, but it is better
Yeah,
than
like
some other
that's
teams
not a
I've seen you
compliment.
draft. So the to just kind of quickly get into it, I'm gonna try to explain certain terms as I go for the people who are going to be watching this who haven't played a lot of Draft League, who I haven't talked to a lot about certain things. But to start off with, Panda, your team, immediately the first thing on the stock that pops up is comparing speed tiers, right? So I'm looking at the speed tiers. Your speed tiers suck. Like
Just me, but okay.
a third of your team are within 5 points of each other in a relatively low speed tier, being 70 to 60. It's very easy for Pokemon to run like Adamant or Modest, or even just invest heavier in bulk instead of in speed against you. For the most part, you don't have those speed tiers that force them to put investment in. And for those who don't know, that's kind of what I mean when I refer to speed tiers. Is essentially your Pokemon speed stats have enough of a gap between themselves that they aren't like it. For example, a good example that I like to bring up is if I have an Arcanine on my team and my opponent has a Mew, that Mew pretty much has to run almost max speed with a speed boosting nature, or else they risk taking massive damage from my Arcanine. Arcanine is base 95 speed, Mew is base 100. And so the goal is to basically do that no matter what Pokemon your opponent has. You want to be trying to force them into running as much investment in speed as possible, so that way they can't invest in other stats, hit you harder, or take hits better. Speed tiers aren't make or break with drafts, but they are relatively important. They're something that I've pretty recently become big on. And so just immediately looking at yours, like, yeah, you have that important one with Landorus at 91. You force base 100s to run Jolly or Timid. That's very important. But otherwise, it's just kind of mediocre. Like, Landorus basically shares a speed tier with Roserade at base 90. Dugong, Gothitelle, Walrein, and Sylveon are all basically the same speed tier. And they're all slow too, which gets to my next point, is that your draft is relatively slow overall. I know it is more stally, but you only have 2 Pokemon over base 100, which is not great in modern competitive. Feel like you two aren't saying much. I know you don't want to interrupt me, but if you have something to say.
I was hoping Shy was
Speak
gonna say
freely.
some bullshit by now. I mean, yeah, it's just the thing of sure speed tiers exist, but also the team's just designed more bulkily, so
My next point.
it definitely should have some higher, more speed control aspects to it. That is definitely for a stall team. It doesn't fully commit one way or the other, and so not having either better sticky web support, tailwind, or something else to more capitalize on that bulk and kind of even some of the playing field.
Yeah, that was
Is
a
a
point that
down.
I had later on, was that you actually have a surprising amount of priority, which makes up for your overall low speed. And you do have good speed control with things like tailwind and even trick room options, which I know you're not a huge fan of in singles, but you are a fan of. My next point is this team is supposed to be a bit bulkier, a bit stallier. You have like the Aurora Veil and the Intimidate to make beef yourself up a bit. And you have no rock resistance and no ghost resistance or immunity.
Hey! Do not hate on that Terranormal Dugon, you fuck.
I have done the calcs relatively recently. Yeah, outside of your Terra captains, I will say that because Fortress, Terra Fighting and Terra Ground Fortress both resist rock. I think your other Terra type is steel, so all three of Fortress's Terra types resist steel, which is resist rock. Sorry. And then yeah, you do have Terra Normal Dugong, which is interesting. And to quickly go over the Terra types because they don't appear on the stock. Fortress is steel, fighting, and ground. Dugong is where is it? I'm professional, I swear.
It's Ice Bug and
Ice Bug and
normal.
normal, and then Walrein is water, ground, and dragon. I imagine the Terra Normal is there as a defensive typing, but it's not a very good one. At least like it helps with your draft with your ghost weakness, but it doesn't help Dugong. Because like 9 times out of 10, unless I'm trying to just sweep you with a ghost type, I'm probably clicking a fighting type move on Dugong.
Man's
It's
gonna
an
get
ice type.
swept by the Terranormal Dugon and get so upset at the end of this draft.
Yeah, I've done the calcs recently. The vast majority of your team get absolutely bodied by a strong rock type. That's not with Veil and stuff like that up, but it's still it's something to watch out for, especially on a team that is supposed to be this bulky. If you're taking like guaranteed over 50% from certain hits, you're just not having a fun time.
Oh.
But otherwise, like you have great hazards, arguably the best hazard setter in the game with Fortress, and hazard setter and remover because he's also a spinner. You have healing capabilities with Wish Passing, Sylveon, lots of heal bell options, good momentum, U-turn, Volt Switch, and such. Like I mentioned, good priority. Lots of disruption, which is to be expected from a team like this. You have Taunt, Knockoff, Encore, Trick on so many Pokemon. Yeah. My biggest complaint about it that I had, which is kind of the main, like the first few points are like, yeah, I'm docking a few points for that stuff, like low speed tiers and big weaknesses that you struggle to kind of handle are definitely dragging this team down. But the biggest issue that I have is that you call Walrein and Dugong hail abusers.
Hey, no. Let me clarify that statement. I said they are hail abusers in the fact that they get abused in the hail. I never said that they were really going to abuse it proactively.
Yeah. So to me, it just feels like you have Ninetales just to set up fail, which
Of
is
course.
it's not a bad thing, but like you want to see more out of, especially a Pokemon like Ninetales that can do so much for a team if the team is built around it. And it feels like it's not doing the most it can here.
I mean, if I get to say something,
Mm-hmm.
I can
No.
see kinda how Ninetales and Dugong and Walrein can work together because I'm pretty sure both Dugong and Walrein gets Ice Body.
Yep, they do get Ice
So
Body, and
inhale, and his whole thing is
Mhm.
kinda being bulky and annoying, toxic, that
Yep.
thing, just trying to stall you out. And that with leftovers, um, I mean, he
So,
gets constant recovery. If he wants to, he can also give him fix that. They can take
mhm.
fire and ice type moves better if that's
For me,
needed.
it's just when I think of like weather abusers and that sort of thing, I'm thinking Swift Swim, Slush Rush,
Yeah, I'm not saying they're
and
good. I'm just saying
even
they have some purpose in the hail
mhm,
or
I
the
do
snow.
agree. They definitely have uses, but also, yeah, Ice Body, I get double leftovers for 5 to 7 turns. Yay. Like,
Double leftovers
it's
behind a veil is kind of gross,
behind a
though.
veil, it is definitely it's there. It's definitely not something to ignore, but like again, Ninetales can do so much for a team.
The only thing I
Yeah.
have to say until I'm done speaking
Mhm.
is, Panda, one thing I want to see from you this season is at least that you bring one time, belly drum wall rain. That is my only
Mm.
request.
Bring what?
Belly drum wall rain.
Oh, belly drum.
Pretty sure
Oh,
Walrein
trust
gets
me,
Ice
I've
Shard.
already been looking at all the fun sets for these guys.
He doesn't
Yeah.
get Ice Shard. He doesn't get any priority. He's just gonna get outsped and bodied.
Behind a veil with double leftovers. Come on, get it together. We've been talking
Yeah,
about this.
we've just been talking about this.
All right. So this team definitely, like I said at the beginning, it's better than a lot of teams that I've seen Panda draft. Panda and I have this back and forth where we think it's hilarious that this man has drafted 3 weathers before. Um, but and like the first 6 to 7 Pokemon on this team are amazing picks. They're just like especially with the first pick being Alolan Ninetales, I'm looking at this, I'm expecting a snow team, and that's not what I'm seeing. Um, so that's why you are the lowest rated team, in my opinion. Um, from here to the end, I don't think there's a single bad team. Um, I think everyone drafted pretty well. I would actually, personally, I would put myself just above you, which should speak a bit to how I feel about these other teams. Um, so
Yeah, and that's another thing that should be pointed out for especially where most of the people watching this are going to be new to kind of draft is just because like the team is the bottom ranked team,
mhm,
even if you're the number one ranked team power wise, if you play like absolute shit, then it's not gonna matter.
mhm,
And the person the bottom ranking, if they play their team flawlessly the entire way through the league, then they're going to outplay
mhm.
everyone else if they're not on their game.
And that's also to say I didn't take coaches into account here. Obviously, I don't know how a lot of you battle, so I couldn't have taken coaches really into account here. I know if there's anybody who can make Panda's team work, it is Panda. Um, so I'm looking forward to seeing him use and abuse this team. but just looking at it on paper, I'm not a fan. The number 6 power ranking here is Storm Center. And again, this is not a bad team. One of my biggest issues, I'm gonna kind of cut around a little bit, is similar to Panda's team. You drafted Tapu Lele, but I'm pretty sure outside of Tapu Lele, your team gets like one psychic move. And you have Pokemon who really like their priority, like Weavile, who can't then click their Ice Shard because of your Psychic terrain. It feels like your opponent is going to benefit more from your terrain week to week than you are. And that is my biggest problem with it.
Oh shit, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Aerodactyl gets Psychic Fangs. I'm not even sure if that's true. If Aerodactyl doesn't get Psychic Fangs, then I don't think he gets a Psychic coverage move, like, at all on this team. I didn't look it up, but just thinking about these
It gets
Pokemon,
Psychic Fangs.
yeah. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Cryogonal gets, like, Extra Sensory or something. Rotom-Mow might get Psychic, but, like,
And
that's
Weavile
kind
gets
of it.
Psycho Cuts.
Weavile gets Psychic Cut. Alright, that's something as well.
Yeah.
So, it slowly earning a bit more points in my book. But still, overall, like, I feel like your opponent is going to benefit more from it than you are. Most weeks. When I see a terrain team, I'm excited to see things like Unburdened Pokemon come out, or like having another strong, maybe a strong slow Psychic type who, like Armarouge or something, who can come in on the Psychic terrain and nuke something. And that's not what I'm seeing here. Um, but otherwise, I think you actually did a really solid job with this draft. You have solid speed tiers. If anything, I think they're a bit fast, which means that slower Pokemon tend to just be able to run like max HP, max defense, or whatever, or max HP, max attack, whatever they need to. So you're not really affecting them much. Other than Aggron, your entire team is above base 85, which that's that's a lot of Pokemon that are viable, that are below 85 speed, who are now deciding, okay, I can't outspeed anything on your team without a choice scarf, so I'm not even going to try. Type-wise, similar to Panda, you have that big rock weakness. You do have a lot more resistances than he does with 3 instead of none. And you do have a ghost resistance, but it's Weavile. So,
But he also
like,
has the option of making Inteleon Terra Dark.
and again, Terra types cover for things like this. That's why they're here. To quickly go over his Terra types, he picked Water, Ice, and Dark for Inteleon, and his other Terra Captain is Aggron with Steel, Rock, and Electric. On that note, I really want you to send me a message after this because I can't wrap my head around it. Why did you pick those Terra typings for Aggron? I imagine Electric must have been because you're water weak, and so you wanted an offensive answer for water types.
It's not
But
Aggron. Does he even get it? An electric move?
well, it would be Terra Blast if he even gets that. I don't think he's in Gen 9, so I don't think he gets Terra Blast.
He does not.
So I really don't know why that's there.
I mean,
All
he gets
3 of your
Thunder.
Terra types are weak to ground,
He
which
gets Thunder Punch. He's unstoppable.
notably, you have 3 ground immunities, so it's not bad to have all 3 of Aggron's Terra types be weak to ground, especially because most ground types are going to be attacking you on the physical side, which Aggron is really good at taking. But like especially on a defensive Pokemon with those defensive Terra types, you kind of want to see them take things that cover their weaknesses, like Terra Ghost Tyranitar. It's almost the exact same thing for Aggron. You're weak to fighting type. Terra Ghost would be amazing. Terra Flying, so that way you are immune to ground. And actually Terra Flying over Terra Ghost I think would be even better, because then you're immune to ground and resist fighting. And then you still have another Terra type you can do whatever you want with. It's just it seems weird to me. I can't fully wrap my head around it. I'm sure there is a reason. I'm sure you had a thought process. I just don't understand it.
Personally, have disliked looking at this team particularly because it just feels super offensive and nothing else. And as soon as he loses any sort of tempo in a battle, I don't think, unless he can quickly learn how to regain that tempo, that he's going to be able to actually keep that and actually close out matches quickly.
Yep, and that was another thing that I had noted in my notes. Very strong team. You hit very hard, but you've like 2 Pokemon with you. I can count them right now. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Pokemon. One of which is the same appearing on both the defense and special defense list, that have over base 100 in either defense stat. Like you have Annihilate with 110 HP, but that's your only HP stat over 100. Shy, did you have anything you wanted to say?
With me just mostly being here for small, weird comments, I do have to say he has really drafted some Pokemon that are going to be really fun seeing him use, and if he's using them effectively, they're also going to be huge threats. For example, I mean, Mega Charizard is very straightforward, but it's very fun to use. You just click Dragon Dance, and then you use Kill Shit because of Tough Claws and its very high physical attack stat. And if he wants to make it even weirder, he still has base 130 special attack, so he can also make it special. So, I mean, most people are going to expect it to be physical, but you could bring special just to mix things up. Also, Scolipede. I fucking love Scolipede. With speed boost and sword stance and just some fun moves, it could also just be a spike setter or toxic spikes. I mean, its move pool is kind of blah, but I mean, it could still be very fun seeing him use it, especially if he's, for example, an Endeavor set with speed boost, just outspeeding the next turn and then killing something. I mean, that's a free kill.
What are you endeavoring, you psycho man?
I mean, it gets Endeavor. I'm just looking at it right now.
Yeah, you okay? Just because it has gyro ball, you fuck. That doesn't mean you should run that shit.
I mean, I'm just saying you could. I mean,
you could.
You could.
But
it also gets a baton pass, which also could be good, but I mean, not allowed with speed boost and such.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm kind of sad not seeing is not utilizing Cryogonal as a Terra captain.
That was one thing I wanted to talk about as well.
Because Cryogonal is a phenomenal Pokemon while being Terra'd. Just because it got so high special defense, okay speed, decent attack stats, but with it being so fucking poor in physical defense, the Terra typing really helps with weaknesses, and then you can, most of the time, if you have it late game Terra, most guaranteed take something out with just that Terra and confusing your opponent or catching them off guard. Cryogonal is one of my favorite Pokemon right now, which I did not think I was going to like. But it is very good. It's also a Rapid Spinner, which also pretty good, especially when you have a fucking Charizard on your team. You do not want them fucking spikes or stealth rocks there. And Weavile and Scolipede, Pterodactyl. Yeah, you get the point. I think that's most of the things that I can think of to say. But otherwise, I really like this team because it seems fun. Just like with Panda's team, it's a bunch of weird mons that could be really fun to use.
Absolutely. This is a very fun team. And that point that you made about Cryogonal is actually something I'm probably going to iterate a few times throughout these power rankings. And actually something that I want to yell at Panda for as well, because he also had the opportunity for a Pokemon with Bolt Beam coverage and a Levitate, which is insane. Terra Electric and Terra Ice on Electros would have been great. Terra Electric on Cryogonal would be amazing. And it feels like a missed opportunity. Like, especially because you did the Terra Electric on Aggron. Like, you did the Terra Electric on Aggron. It's there. Just Cryogonal instead. But yeah, just a few closing thoughts. You have amazing hazard setters and removal. So much defog. One of the best spinners in the game with Cryogonal. Just slap heavy duty boots on it, and you're not going to take that rocks damage. You come in, you get rid of them, you get out. You have recover, all that stuff. So many stealth rock setters. You're never going to play a game without rocks. Then just like, again, the priority. You have Weavile with Fake Out and Ice Shard. You have Inteleon with Aqua Jet and Ice Shard. It's kind of sad to see those there and know that Psychic Terrain is going to make them all but unusable. And this is to say, I do really like this team still. You are my week 1 opponent. I've already started prepping, and I'm terrified. Your team is very strong, very scary. So
Also,
yeah.
I have one final thought.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was speaking about this, seeing you have Tapu Lele, I mean, one thing you could do is make some trades to this team, and if you need a fairy type other than Tapu Lele, you could always draft Clefable, because it's not picked
Still
yet, right?
available. Yep.
Still available.
3 people tried to
Which is,
draft it, none of them could.
yeah. But you have enough points with trading Tapu Lele for it, because both of them are 16 points. And with it having Magic Guard and Unaware, it could really help your team out.
Wait, if Clefable's not drafted, why is it knocked off on the tier list?
It's marked off, but I know no one has. Yeah, it's still marked off.
I'll fix that later.
That's my bad. Yeah. I think that
Shy.
would be my closing statement. Just try to make some changes, make your priority moves more useful, and just try to have fun, bring some weird shit. I think most of this league is mostly for fun, so that's why I'm going to look at every team and just try to see what kind of fun sets everyone can bring, because I think it's also very important to remember this is a league for fun, so don't take all the games too serious. You just bring weird shit, and if it works, well then, fucking congrats. Yeah.
The next team we have, unless you have another point on Storm, Mason.
I just was quickly pulling up the listing. I was trying to find an Unburdenmon to also possibly just recommend. That would benefit from the Psychic Seed.
I mean, my number 1 thought immediately goes to like Hawlucha or Sneasler, who would both be another fighting type you would probably want to trade Annihilate for, but I know he loves Annihilate. So I wasn't even thinking about recommending one. I was just like, of course there are trades you could make to make this team better. Shy already mentioned one. And I think all of the top 6 teams are like a trade or 2 away from being the best. And that is also to say, these are rankings pre-trades. Some people have already made trades as of that are active week 2. This does not include those.
Yeah.
Points, sit there and drop the Aerodactyl, pick up Slurpuff, and just
Oh.
slap Psychic Feed, Belly Drum.
Unburden Slurpuff with Belly Drum? Oh my god.
That thing is so fun. And it also gets sticky webs in case you want to use it for more defensive purposes.
That's actually, that is a pretty great recommendation. Good going there, Panda. The number 5
Also
team.
got 2 more points after that.
The number 5 team, we have Hunter. Hunter, I forgot to mention, Storm is the coach of the Cherry Grove Charizards. Hunter is the coach of the San Jose Sharpedos. Very, very front-loaded team. Very strong, very fast. Some solid bulk with things like Toxapex and Araquanid.
And
His Terra
Guzzlord.
Captains, and Guzzlord. Guzzlord has a lot of HP. So does Chansey. His Terra Captains are Guzzlord with Dragon, Fire, and Flying Terra types, and Rotom Fan with Flying, Ice, and Dragon. He did the thing. He has the Terra Ice. He has the Bolt Beam coverage, ladies and gents. It's there.
Yeah.
I
Son of Dawn.
immediately I want to get this out of the way first because it has been driving me a little bit crazy. I don't get the Terra Fire on Guzzlord. Maybe it's for Steel types. I don't know why you'd go Terra Fire over like Terra Ground or something else.
I could see him just doing that because he hasn't drafted a fire type.
That's also fair. That makes sense too. I just like it's just I would
Oh, I know why. I know
it's
why.
weird to me. Why?
Because he gets Heat Crash.
Oh god. He did run Heavy Slam week 1. That makes sense. Okay. My other thing would be
Jesus Christ.
I would have loved to have seen Terra Electric over Terra Flying on Rotom Fan. Just so that way it actually has a use for its ability. Terra Flying actually makes its ability even more useless somehow, which is kind of funny to me. But
I think the reason that he just did the Terra Flying is because, like, if he did Terra Electric, he already has Tapu Koko that already is going to spam out powerful Thunderbolts and can already boost Rotom Fan's, like, ability to shoot Thunderbolts, so might as well get another Mon if he is going to just spam out powerful flying type attacks that, in general, are great to just throw out.
That's fair. That is very valid.
I will defend that one. I did not like that at first, but looking at the rest of the team, I can see why he did that.
That's very fair. I do think that Terra Electric would arguably be better just because you have the terrain, so just boost those electric moves to sky high. Hit things like a small truck. You get no, you don't get Grass Knot on this, but ground types arguably don't necessarily want to come in on you too much. You have other moves to hit them with. And if you're potentially Terra Ice, until you Terra, they don't know if they can safely come in. So, I think Terra Electric to just click the nuke button in the terrain would be really nice. Just
and
my
also
opinion.
get rid of a lot of the unnecessary weaknesses that comes with Terra Flying or just regular flying type. Especially when it already has Levitate as an ability.
Yeah, it's a great defensive typing on it.
Yeah.
It's just pure electric. But your speed tiers are really pretty solid. There's a few gaps there, but the higher up gaps, like the gap between Dragapult and Tapu Koko and Tapu Koko between Espeon, aren't as big of a deal because there are less Pokemon that fit in there. And at that high of a speed tier, the points mean a bit more typically. Like if I run a boosting nature on a 50 speed Pokemon, it's only going to increase by like 20 points compared to on a higher speed Pokemon, it increases it by a bit more.
There's one thing I would like to complain about.
What's that?
The thing that annoys me a lot is that the only two mons that he has that can put up rocks are Excadrill and Chansey. And Excadrill doesn't really want to do that with it being a more of an offensive mon. It could be defensive, but I think Excadrill should be run more offensive.
Yeah, typically it generally is. Although that also comes with the territory of its abilities in Sand, more so. Generally, when it's running Mold Breaker, it is usually a more defensive set, unless it's running it like specifically to counter a Pokemon like Rotom Fan, to hit them with your Earthquakes or something. Although not Rotom Fan specifically, because Rotom Fan would be immune before Terra, but you get my point.
Yeah. But otherwise, I kind of like the rest of the mons that have hazards. For example, Toxapex, a phenomenal mon with Toxic Spike. Araquanid with Sticky Web. And also Espeon with Magic Bounce.
Yeah.
Just to bounce shit to the opponent.
And that is one thing I will give him credit for, is solid removal. Kartana has Defog, which you're probably never going to run, but it's a good option to have. Rotom Fan has Defog, and Tapu Koko have Defog, both of which run it decently commonly. It's not every day that you see a Tapu Koko with Defog, but especially in draft, it happens. Spin on Excadrill, especially now that it boosts speed, is good to have on most sets. And with Magic Bounce Espeon to prevent hazards from coming up in the first place, you're looking pretty good there. You have arguably one of the best clerics in the game, being Chansey. Wish passing is insane. I think the only Pokemon on your team you're not bringing back up to full with a Wish Pass is Guzzlord.
Yeah.
Like you have pretty solid momentum in U-turn, Volt Switch. You don't have any like Flip Turn or anything, and Teleport on Chansey is actually very hard to run because you can't run Seismic Toss with it. So it's kind of iffy, but otherwise, my biggest thing is having one Taunter in Tapu Koko and no Encore Pokemon. Stall teams are gonna have a fun time. Specifically, namely, I think the only stall team we've gone over so far being Pandas. Like, what do
I'm actually the opposite boat of you here.
Really?
So, yeah, like, the more I look at this team, when I first looked at it, I was just like, this is a pretty generic something that I could see in, like, a previous draft that I've done. Like, I don't think any of these Pokemon are overly new. Yeah, these are all, like, old Mons. So other than, like, the questionable Terra Flying Guzzlord and Terra, extra Terra typing for, like, the Rotom Fan Guzzlord stuff, that could probably be changed. I really like this team the more I look at it. It's one of those things, some of the things are just very one note, like your really only support Pokemon is Chansey. So if that goes down, the rest of the team kind of lacks in support. But like with solid Pokemon that can do setup hazards like Toxapex, you can have Araquanid that can put down sticky webs to just further push that advantage. If something like Kartana starts getting in, Excadrill gets off a Rapid Spin, Dragapult sneaks in, a substitute or something somewhere, I see this team just ripping apart other teams because it's just so middle of the road that, like, it can go where it wants. Now, do I think that Stall is still going to, like, put a little bit of a test to the player? Yeah, but I think as long as, like, they kind of keep a level head and, like, not try and push an advantage that isn't there, I think that this team could very easily just play through Stall, just go through that initial barrage and then find a point to set up and really just Kartana substitute, start swords dancing, and then just take apart another team. I'm really actually not looking forward to fighting this team in particular, looking at it. Like, of all the teams that I've looked at, a lot of them seem kind of one note, and this one I fear to have the most capability to do something I can't account for with my team.
Kartana also just kind of runs through your team, period. The Kartana is just a really good Pokemon to you, period. But
Hey, I got Dewgong. Paranormal. What will it do?
so, and yeah, I do agree with a lot of that. It can kind of go either way. It could. I've definitely. I can see Tapu Koko and Dragapult both being run a bit bulkier for a potential stall team. I can also see like a variant of this team where every single Pokemon is a choice item and it's just tearing through things. Like obviously that's not ideal, like that's not the best single variant, but the fact that I could see that happening means that all these Pokemon could potentially run a set like that and fit on just about any team. My last two complaints, or I guess I'll throw three in here. Is yeah, I think you use your terrain better than Storm does, but only barely. Rotom Fan definitely helps a lot with that, but there's not really much else here that likes the electric terrain. And electric terrain as a whole is generally a more offensive terrain compared to like psychic terrain or misty terrain. So you want this team especially is one that I would want to see an unburdened Pokemon on, trying to abuse that terrain. Hawlucha with Tapu Koko is like a godly pairing, and Hawlucha went undrafted. You also don't have a fighting type. So if you were going to make trades for anything, I think throwing Hawlucha on here would really do a lot for you. And on that same note, you have Excadrill without sand. What was that? Were you gonna say the same thing?
The only thing it's just Hawlucha's 14 points, so the only thing looking at this team that he could get rid of is Excadrill.
Well, he also only has he has 10 Pokemon, so he could trade some things around. I know it's not ideal with how how he wants to keep things like Dragapult. He wants to keep Tapu Koko, obviously, because we're talking about terrain. He wants to keep Kartana. I know he really likes Kartana personally, but like, I'm not thinking necessarily what I would do to like. Obviously, this is his team. However, he's gonna have fun with it. That's what matters. That's what matters. A lot more than how good it is. I'm just thinking, are there ways that I could see of making it better? And in my opinion, getting Hawlucha on here somewhere would, or even get Hitmonlee on here. Hitmonlee is, again, you don't have a fighting type, so it helps. And it's such a good unburdened Pokemon. It's also a lot lower tier, and I think it can Terrasilize. I'm pretty sure it's 9 points.
Hitmonlee's 8 points.
So yeah, I mean that's really good. Here, my next thing I had to complain about was Espeon is probably the best Pokemon that I allowed to Terrasilize. Like, it is so strong with Terra, and you didn't make it a Terra Captain. It's a little disappointing and a little disheartening to me, especially because both of the Pokemon you did choose to Terrasilize are lower tiered. So, like, you have a lot of points left, it's just not enough for Espeon. So, like, you could have chosen one of those two and Terra Espeon, and you would have had a very potent Terrasilizing for And the last point of somewhat disappointment in this team, but again, these are all like relatively minor overall. It's just I have to pick out something, or else I can't justify why it's lower than the other teams. And that is a relatively low, specially offensive presence. A good physical wall kind of sits in front of this team. Yes, you have Dragapult who can run specs and nuke things. Yes, you have Tapu Koko who can often run special and hits things really hard. But both of those Pokemon have a higher physical attack stat and would do better as physical attackers. It's just that they are going to be forced to run special sets more often than not because you don't have the coverage otherwise. Like, Espeon is really your only special attacker. And Rotom Fan.
Non-special Guzzlord.
Guzzlord is much more of a physical attacker. Guzzlord clicks Draco Meteor and then it clicks physical moves. Yeah, I think I can definitely see like Dragapult and Tapu Koko running a lot of mixed sets, same with Guzzlord, and making up for that weakness. But again, that's just a nitpick I had, more so than anything else. Any closing
Hating on
thoughts from you guys?
stockpile. Hating on stockpile belts, Guzzlord. What's wrong with you?
Yes, I am.
I
Yeah,
don't
no,
really
that
have anything else to add.
You don't got anything else, Shy?
I don't think so. I can't think of anything right now.
Alright.
next team.
Next team is you, Shy. You're here. Hello.
Oh my
Yeah.
god! Oh wow!
Um,
Wow!
yeah. These top 4 teams especially are all very interchangeable in my opinion. It was really hard to actually place these 4 teams anywhere. They're all very good. Shy, your team is terrifying setup sweepers. And I know you did that intentionally. I know you like to click setup buttons with Swords Dance Garchomp, Nasty Plot Thunderous, Moxie Aqua Step Quackable, Swords Dance King Gambit, Booster Energy Iron Moth. Holy hell, Shy. And then you also have Spite Ops for webs. It's just it's a very good team, and you are one of the teams who already made trades. We're not really going to talk about that too much, but just to say, I think Pheasantipity for Grimmsnarl is definitely a solid trade. You already
Yeah,
had 2 poison types on this team. You didn't really need Pheasantipity as well.
yeah, no, I had already a pretty huge ground and psychic weakness with only Gambit to help with the psychic part and with the ground part. I think I only have Thunderous to
Yep,
help with that.
and Thunderous really doesn't do much offensively to ground types. It just kind of
Nope.
sits there.
I
And
mean,
most
it
ground
gets
types get
Grass
rock type
Knot,
moves.
but yeah, the trade I made with 4 Grimmsnarl just removed a whole lot of weaknesses, and with it getting screens and parting shots, also being a setup mon, I think it was more support for the team. So
But we're
I
not
think
here to
that will
talk
help
about
a
your
lot.
trades.
No,
We're here to talk about this team because this is week
yeah,
0 power rankings.
yeah. So please rip me a new one.
To quickly go over your Terra typings before I forget, like I have with just about every other team. You have Hoopa with Terra Psychic or Terra Ghost, sorry, Ghost, Dark, and Fairy. You have Avalugg with Terra Rock, Water, and Flying, and you have Spite with Terra Bug, Ground, and Dragon. I have absolutely no problems with any of those Terra typings, except I don't fully get why Spite Ops is Terra Ground. I kind of get it as like it gives you I think a rock resistance. It can be decent offensively to hit steel types with, but I feel like Terra Steel would have just been so much better.
It probably would have, to be honest. I was just really tired and just picked shit because I was on the bus
That's
on my
fair.
way home.
Shy, don't let him backtalk you. The terrace ground terrace spikes, really gonna come in handy.
Yeah.
Yes, the stab spike.
Mm-hmm. So overall, I think this team, yeah, we talked about it a little bit with your the trade that you made. But you're very weak to ground, and like I said, Thunderous doesn't really cover that weakness all that well. Um, you have Spite Ops who resist it, but Spite Ops does next to nothing to a ground type. It just kind of sits there. You click Circle Throw on it and try to get it out of there as fast as possible. Deal some extra hazard damage. That's kind of it. Quacklevolt offensively, especially if it's already set up, answers them really well, but that's not a switch in to a ground type. And you have similar issues with Psychic and Ghost, albeit you handle those a bit better. Obviously, we already discussed your trade. It makes that a lot better, but we don't need to go back into that. I think your speed tiers are definitely solid. I would put you on the slower end.
Yeah.
110 with Iron Moth being your fastest Pokemon wouldn't have been bad 3 generations ago when I think we both started playing draft.
Yeah,
But
no.
it's there's so many faster Pokemon nowadays.
Yep.
It's you definitely can get away with it, especially with the sticky web support, but it is on the slower end for me personally. But yeah, I mean, otherwise you have really good hazard removal and hazard setting with uh 2 great rapid spinners in Hisuian Avalugg and um Quaquaval. Some great spike setters with Garchomp and Spite Ops, some great stealth rock setters with Avalugg and Garchomp and King Gambit. Sticky webs, like I mentioned. So many of your Pokemon get U-turn, which is a big plus in my book. I love U-turn. You know I love U-turn.
Yes.
Solid priority with like first impression on Spite Ops. Terrabug first impression was actually something I was helping your week 1 opponent with Mox. It was actually something I was considering doing for a little bit. Just because I didn't have any other Terra captains on that mock team. So I was like, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
You have a lot of Pokemon who learn Taunt, a lot of Pokemon who learn Knockoff, which is great disruption. Really solid phasing, which is good with your hazard stacking options as well. Like Circle Throw, Dragon Tail on Circle Throw, Spite Ops, I mentioned Dragon Tail on Garchomp, Roar and Whirlwind on Mega Venusaur and Iron Moth. Just like with your hazard stacking options, stacking that damage and also removing potentially scary setup sweepers. It's very helpful. One big issue I had looking at this team. You have no Pokemon who learn Will-O-Wisp at all. You have no way to burn anything.
Yeah, that
So
is
a
the thing
strong
that I
physical attacker
noticed.
is gonna hurt.
Yeah. Which is something that I've thought about, and I have been thinking about making some trades to fix that problem. I just don't know
Mhm.
what I should trade because I honestly thought that Doublade got Will-O-Wisp because it's a ghost type.
Yeah,
I thought logic.
a lot
Yes,
of ghost types do.
a lot of ghost
Unfortunately,
types too.
the
Not this
Honedge line
one
is not
because
one of them.
yeah, no. So that kind of fucked me over. um, At the same time, I think that with my defensive mons, and because I do cover most of the physical typings that hit the hardest with my defensive types.
Mm-hmm.
I think I will be fine, but if there's something that is becoming a problem after a few setup moves or something like that, then I will definitely have a problem. But yeah, well, I will just take that loss.
Yeah, you have so many setup options. It's terrifying. Something burns you, you might just end up clicking Swords Dance enough times that it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
The fact that you can't burn other Pokemon, doesn't matter if they're already dead.
Yes.
Like, your team is very strong, very scary. Genuinely, I had the hardest time actually picking things that I didn't like about it. And my biggest thing that I didn't really like about it is that I feel like Garchomp is such a versatile Pokemon, but on this team, I don't see it running anything other than offensive. Like, I feel like it always wants to run offensive so that way it can take the support from the other amazing Pokemon that it has. Like Mega Venusaur taking hits for it, Spite Up setting up the webs. You want to abuse that with Garchomp. And that's not really a minus. That is just the best I could give as like a
Yeah.
downside. It's a very good team. We already touched on the typings. You've already fixed them, so I don't want to hammer that in too much. That is probably the main reason why it's this low. Is you were very weak to a lot of typings.
Yeah.
Your one trade fixed that very well. So I look forward to seeing how. I think you are a solid contender for like first place of the league, especially being one of the only people, one of the only coaches who has experience in draft league outside of this. So
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing what you do.
Yes. So do I. Mason, do you have any complaints or thoughts?
Not enough memes.
Yeah, kind of. I mean,
No
also just
Caterpie 0 to 10.
There's nothing that really like supports the team in terms of like trying to restabilize. Like, there's no wish support here unless I'm missing something.
No,
You're
but there
only
there
kind
are a
of
lot of teams that are missing that in this league.
which like isn't the end all be all. Like, you have Leech Seed on Mega Venusaur if you really want to go there.
Hey.
I like the team because it is solid all around, and like we said, it's going to hurt, especially like any of these Mons Swords Dance or Nasty Plot. It's going to be a rough time trying to take momentum back from you, especially since you love setup. But like we said, if we get like a Will-O-Wisp on some of your Mons, and then they just start taking the hits, they get like those burns racked up, a couple of just protects in, and suddenly you don't really have an out there. If they don't let you Swords Dance and they just burn you and just start whittling you down. So even just like a heal Belmont somewhere, just something. I don't know what I would tell you to get rid of. Maybe fucking Quaklov, but that's just because I hate that Mon.
I love Quackville so much. I can't wait for you to sleep someone with it.
I'm also looking forward to it because the thing that I found most interesting is with this team, most of the mons that I've drafted is the first time I've ever drafted them. For example, Quackball, first time. I think Garchomp, just first time
Yeah.
drafting it. Kingambit, first time. Arama, first time. Hoopa, first time. I've used to Unbound, but this time I just wanted the regular Hoopa. Avalog, first time, and I've just after week 1, I fucking love it. It's so bulky. And I'm looking forward to getting to use Spite Ops because it's a mon that I think is very weird, but I'm very interested in its ability Stakeout.
Yeah. Spite Ops and Belly Bolt, for me, fall into this weird category of Pokemon that were in Gen 9 that just looking at them on paper, they are not good Pokemon, but they always surprise me with how well they do.
Yeah. And it gets counter,
Mm-hmm.
which is my favorite move in the game.
Yeah. So, again, looking forward to
I
seeing
think
what you
that
do.
was the reason why I went with the Terra Ground, just because then it can probably take a hit better than the bug typing can,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can just hit with counter.
I feel like Steel would have been better for that, especially because like Steel's main weaknesses are like uh fighting and ground, and you resist both of those as a bug type. Your bug type's other main weakness that it shares with Steel being fire, your other Terra type covers with Dragon. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like I personally feel like Steel would have been better.
Yeah.
But again, that's like a minor thing. Spite Ops was your lowest point total Terra Captain. It
Yeah,
was
I mean, I was this close to not even making it a Terra Captain just in case I wanted to make some trades. At the same time, I noticed it got counter, and then I was like, maybe I can make it some Terra.
all right.
Yeah.
That is Shykrow's team. Next up in third place, we have Dragon. Dragon Turlo 7. Dragon has a very interesting team in my opinion. It is one that I helped him draft. He made a lot of these decisions by himself. A lot of them I wasn't huge on when he made them, but I've grown to like them. Some very interesting synergy with Pokemon like Mega Sceptile's Lightning Rod and Gyarados baiting electric type moves, stuff like that. The Steam Engine and Flash Fire on Colossal, just helping cover Aegislash and Darmanitan's weaknesses. Uh, let's look at speed tiers really quick. Mega Sceptile is overwhelmingly faster than the rest of your team. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just not really a great thing to see either. So again, a lot of those Pokemon that are in between that speed tier are just going to run more offensive sets or more bulky sets, whatever. And your speed tiers aren't great, kind of hovering mostly in that like around 110 to like 80 range. But I mean, it's not the end of the world because you cover like there are a lot of Pokemon that fall in that range that are going to then uh have to run these speed boosting natures like the speed tiers intend. So it's not the end of the world. You also have probably the most terrifying choice scarfer in the game with Gorilla Tactics, Galarian Darmanitan. Such a threatening Pokemon. So strong. Um looking at Terra Captains, before I forget, I helped you pick your Terra Captains typings. I think they're arguably some of the best Terra Captains in the league. Um, Correct me if you guys think that I'm wrong there, but Terra Dark, Poison, and Electric on Umbreon, and Terra Fire, Water, and Grass on Colossal. Colossal being the just starter typings is kind of funny to me, but Water to better take water hits for Steam Engine, and Grass with Flash Fire to get rid of that weakness. Just it's a good time. Terra Poison on Umbreon so it doesn't miss Toxics and can't be poisoned. Like, I really like them. What do you guys think?
I mean, like you said, this team has a lot of like weird small synergies that you don't really think about. And with the Terra, typings that you have with Umbreon and Colossal. I mean, I love seeing just the Fire, Water, Grass Terras with Colossal because it just really works with Colossal, like you said, with its abilities and its typing originally and stuff like that. And then the synergy between Sceptile and Gyarados. And also really like Clodsire also coming in there with both Unaware and Water Absorb. And also with just the poison type, just so that you can't even toxic it, just to help with the unaware part, in case you have a setup mon that you want to set up with. Aegislash also being this very funky mon that can 1 second be very defensive and then the other second just absolutely rip your ass in two. Darm with Gorilla Tactics just also butt fucking you without the lube. I mean, he has a lot of fun mons that you have the option of either being very annoying or just really fucking offensive and really scary. The only thing that I don't really like is he has a lot of like physical offense and not so much special offense.
Yeah, and I do agree there for a good. I agree and I disagree because a lot of his Pokemon are just like it's not even like the Dragapult like Dragapult type of Coco situation where they are stronger physical attackers but they often run special. A lot of these Pokemon just like have the same or very similar offensive stats. Aegislash has identical offensive stats. Colossal has identical offensive stats. Manaphy has identical offensive stats. So it can really go either way. Hatterene having being very strong on the special side. I know he made trades that governed those, and I do kind of agree with you in that sense with his new team. I think
Yeah,
they
because that's the only
made
team
that
that I can see
worse.
right now. I can see
That's
the
fair.
original team, so I forgot about Manaphy and Hatterene. But with looking with those two, I mean Manaphy, fantastic mon with I think now two free ways of setting up with a new heart move and then
Yeah,
Calm Mind and
Take Heart, Calm
also
Mind, and
Glow.
they'll go. Although Take Heart is literally just Calm Mind, but better. So I don't
Yeah.
know why you'd ever run Calm Mind anymore, but
Yeah, no. But it's just like it also depends on the situation. Some way you maybe want the other one. I don't know. I haven't looked into it very much. But Manaphy being a fantastic water type, also helping with Sceptile's electric move and also being able to take most of the things that Manaphy is weak to. And then Hatterene, also a very fun Pokemon to use with Trick Room. Just being with the right setup, depending on what your opponent has, can be a phenomenal Calm Mind setup sweeper. And with the Magic Bounce, you can't be taunt. You can bounce. You switch in, bounce off some Stealth Rocks, and then maybe force a switch and just get a free Calm Mind up. And with Life Orb, you can just do a lot of damage to something. Because I think Psychic and Fairy is a awesome typing.
yeah.
It just covers a lot of ground. With it also having Mystical Fire for those pesky steel types. I think Hadron is a fantastic mon, but with this team, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I just he has some funky mons that can be really fun to use. And some of them can also be kind of unpredictable depending on how he plays. For example, with Aegislash, with you just being either maybe I'm protecting with King's Shield, or maybe I'm just setting up to then absolutely fuck you in the ass. Also, I kind of like, or not like, but I think there's kind of a lack of priority moves besides Shadow Sneak and what's it called, Prankster ability with Whimsicott. Other than that, I don't see much priority. Or am I the only one seeing it? Am I missing something?
I
No, you're
mean,
not.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of priority. I don't think his team necessarily needs it too much. But yeah, it is definitely lacking here.
I'm just thinking. I think he would benefit from more priority, just because most of the mons are either around the same speed stat or is much slower than that.
Mm-hmm.
For example, Aegis being, what is it, base 50 speed?
Yeah, Aegis is 60, but very slow.
Yeah.
60 speed.
But with Aegis it kind of works thanks to its ability, so that it takes a hit in defense form and then changes the sword form and just do a lot of damage.
It actually generally wants to be slower than its opponent.
Yeah. But I also think with me just saying the priority part, I think I personally like more of a momentum part. Just being able to kill something fast and then switch out.
Mm-hmm.
Just having the ability to be able to have that as an option is just good.
Yeah. So to quickly go over typings, as is kind of a common theme with draft teams in general, two of the hardest typings to resist are Rock and Ghost, and as we've said a few times, you have some pretty big weaknesses there. Lopunny and Umbreon being your answers for ghost types. If you Terra Umbreon, you don't really have one because Lopunny's probably not coming most weeks. You actually ended up trading it away for a much better normal type, in my opinion. But still. And your rock resistances are Clodsire and Aegislash. Clodsire, depending on the rock type, probably isn't taking the hit, and probably isn't taking a ground type move from them, like Earthquake or something, which most rock types get. So it's very hard for you to stack up into those. I like your hazard setting and your hazard control. Rapid Spin on Colossal, Defog on Whimsicott, good Stealth Rockers and Spikers. Yeah, good Disruption, lots of Taunt Pokemon. Lots of Pokemon who have Taunt that are good with Taunt, like Taunt Whimsicott, great. Taunt Umbreon, great. Taunt Darmanitan, if you're Zen mode, great. If you're Gorilla Tactics, terrible.
Gyarados, respect it.
Gyarados too. I'm not disrespecting the Gyarados. It's just I wanted to make a point of Darmanitan, and I felt like 4 was too much.
I don't even think people realized Darmanitan gets taunt. I didn't realize he got taunt, so the fact you brought him up before Gyarados is insulting.
Well, I have the doc that tells me things like this. I'm staring at it. The video can see it. That's why I brought it up.
Terrible.
Really, you have a lot of older Pokemon, which is really useful because all of them get toxic in this league, which is great. Like 3/4 of your team get toxic. A very important move to have. You have a good not hazard, status spreading, like either way, with Nuzzle, Hatterene, Stunspore, Whimsicott, lots of T-Wavers, several Will-O-Whispers, some Pokemon with Yawn to put things to sleep. Yeah, otherwise I don't really have much to say.
I will interject a little bit here. Because you guys have kind of been giving the team a little bit of praise. I'm gonna bash it a little bit here. Like some of the synergies, like the Call Soil stuff, love it. I don't think it's a good enough mon to really capitalize on those things. But it's solid, and then like the whole Mega Sceptile and Gyarados interaction. Typically, if I think of a good electric type, like my immediate mind goes to like Zapdos or Koko, that both just be like, hey, Sceptile's here, here's a Hurricane, here's a whatever fairy move Koko feels like running. Or even Brave Bird. It gets Brave Bird as well, that's right.
Yeah. I will say to that, Mega Subtile outspeeds both of those, and with a +1 special attack from the electric move, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, I just quickly
a
looked at
well-placed
the moveset,
prediction.
and it's one of those things of I don't really feel. It's one of those things, kind of like how everyone was expecting Electivire Gyarados to kind of go hard, and then it just didn't. On paper, it looks like, yeah, that's really nice, but then when you look at when I look at the rest of the team, I don't see it all coming together, and maybe I just haven't looked at it hard enough. But this team just seems like a bunch of building blocks that, like, 2 or 3 members kind of fit together, and, like, it goes well. But if the kind of connecting parts between those little, like, sets of 2 or 3 don't come together for certain weeks, then I feel like half of his team is gonna be struggling, and he's gonna get into a point of where 1 or 2 of his key mons are going to go down, and then he's just going to immediately fall over in these weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what to really recommend to, like, adjust for that. I just think for all of these upcoming weeks, Dragon's going to have to spend some time really identifying what are those 1 or 2 mons that he really needs to focus on, being like, here's my win condition, and really pick the other mons on his team, being like, these ones benefit that win condition and aren't trying to also do their own win condition, because if he does that, then the whole team's going to be falling apart. But I think if he can really just dial that in, the team will come together, but I'm not a fan of it.
That's fair. I see what you're saying, and I agree for the most part. Yeah, a lot of the Pokemon do work together individually very well, but not necessarily as a full unit. So making sure that you're bringing the right Pokemon with each other is just as important as making sure that you have the right Pokemon for your opponent's team. So moving on, we have second place with Voltage, which means everyone can already guess what first place is, and I will get there. I know. I wasn't expecting it either.
Fuck Goldango.
I agree. Fuck Goldango. But Voltage.
Not gonna almost drafted that fuck so that way I didn't have to play against it.
Voltage's team is, I think, inarguably the most synergistic team anyone drafted. All of these Pokemon work together so well. To quickly go over his Terra captains before I forget, we have the Rotom Frost with. Oh no, he doesn't have Rotom Frost. I'm lying. We have Pythagoras with Ghost, Fighting, and Fire Terra types, and we have Aurorus with Ice, Water, and Steel. On that point, why Aurorus over Rotom Frost? You could run Terra Electric, Thunder, in the rain, with Blizzard for ground types. It would be great. It's one of those things that I don't really get. I'm not gonna necessarily dock points because of it, but like I feel like that would be a lot better. Pythagoras, I don't really get the Terra Fire for. I get you don't have a fire type. And you might want that, but it's like I don't think it benefits Pythagoras all that much to be Terra Fire. I could be wrong. I could be missing something. I am just one guy, but yeah. A few other quick points I want to. Actually, we'll save my gripes for the end. Let's praise this team because it's second place. Hits very hard. Mega Swampert, Kingdra in the rain. oh my god. Pelipper spamming hurricanes and weather balls. I have seen Choice Specs Pelipper absolutely destroy someone. 6-0 them with weather ball, hurricane, ice beam. I don't even know what the fourth move is. I don't think it clicked it. I don't think it needs to. Zapdos, Thunder and Hurricane in the rain, very strong Pokemon, all the way down to Chargebug and Frostseed, who are arguably just bad Pokemon on paper, do well on this team because their biggest weaknesses are covered by the rain. It's just a very, very good, very solid team to see. Do you guys have anything you would like to say about them?
I mean, I can just say that rain teams generally are very fun to use, and they are very easy to have with good synergy. I mean, Tangrowth here helps a lot with all the grass types that come for the water types. And also it being in rain, its main weakness in fire just gets stopped. Oh Jesus Christ. What the fuck?
What?
The only thing that I have noticed, I think, just quickly looking at it, is no fairy type.
Yep, no fairy type, and this is where we kind of get into some of the gripes that I have with it a bit, which
Yeah.
is very, very fun thing to note before we get into that is you have 11 Pokemon that learn Toxic.
Oh
That's
shit.
wild. The only Pokemon you have that doesn't learn Toxic is Goldango. Absolutely wild. But you also don't have a single Pokemon who learns Taunt, which a big gripe that I have with this team is that, yeah, you are insane in the rain. With the rain up, you are an amazing team. You do so many great things. Without the rain, I think this team falls apart. I don't think it can hold its ground outside of rain really much at all. And with only one rain set or two, that's hard to maintain. The fastest Pokemon on the team outside of rain is Zapdos at base 100. This is the slowest draft by far. You have such a big fire weakness that is, yes, covered by the rain, but again, outside of rain, it's a problem. And without any Pokemon with Taunt or anything like that, you have a lot of Pokemon with Trick, which is very useful for countering Stall, tricking Choice Scarfs and such. But it is so easy for something like Umbreon to just sit in your rain and spam healing, or like the other Chansey that's in the league, or if someone were to pick up Clefable, just sit in front of this team, in front of your rain, and stall it out. And once Pelipper's gone, the rain is never coming back. So. And it forces you to bring rain every week. I think Mega Swampert, Pelipper, and Zapdos are literally coming every single week. I would be shocked to see a week that those three don't come. So, overall, it ends up becoming predictable, but if it works, who cares if it's predictable, right? Like, yeah, sure, I'm bringing rain every week. Stop it. I dare you. Try. A lot of people can't. But it brings in, I think one of your hardest matchups is going to be Panda with his snow team, because you're going to be fighting to keep your weather up, and you don't function without your weather. Unlike his team, which I actually complained about, him not having abusers, he doesn't really care whether or not his weather's up. He's bringing it just to get rid of yours.
And then also it being a rain team,
Mm-hmm.
both Pelipper, Swampert, and Kingdra, all three of them are really weak to freeze dry.
Yes. Very
Like
weak
they
to freeze
get
dry.
absolutely
Um,
ass fucked
and
by freeze dry. And
that's really funny because none of them share any weaknesses, I don't think, otherwise.
yeah, no.
But they are all so weak to that one move, which is so common on ice types.
Choice Specs Ninetales gonna go hard that week.
Mm-hmm. And it's really unfortunate that is just like a fact. Ninetales outspeeds your entire team and clicks freeze dry 6 times. What do you do about that? You have Blissey. Okay.
Angle Dango.
Yeah, you have Blissey, you have Goldango, sure. So he needs 5 Pokemon to answer those 2. Like, it's just you are fighting such an uphill battle in that situation. If anyone else were to draft anything like that, or even just hell, we have Whimsicott, Klefki, and now Grimmsnarl in this league. I'm pretty sure all 3 of them get at least one weather setting move, like Sandstorm, Sunny Day, Rain Dance, whatever. Prankster, what do you do about a Prankster Sunny Day? Like, they take the hit, they set up the Sunny Day, and now you have to get Pelipper back in, or you don't do much. And it's really unfortunate because when you are in the rain, I think you are the best team in the league, but when you are not, I think you are the worst.
Yeah, so just looking at this team, number one thing that I hate on this team is actually the Auroras. Just because I don't know what that mon's really doing here. Because, like, sure, it can spam the ice voice shit, hyper voice, ice type things. I forget what that ability's called.
It's Refrigerate.
But you
It also
refrigerate.
gets Snow
Refrigerate hyper
Warning, which
voices.
means it can, if you run
Yeah.
the wrong ability for some reason, it can remove your own weather.
Yeah, that was one thing that I thought. It was just like, oh, does Auroras get like Aurora fails? That'd be really cool to set up. But then I was just like, wait, you just shut off your entire team.
Mm-hmm.
So looking points wise, I was just the only thing that I really saw in the 5-point team that I could really quickly be like, yeah, maybe trade that out for is like a Lilligant, because the biggest issue that this team would run into is just like Sun, and
Yes.
Lilligant gets the ability so that way he can just double its speed in Sun and just go off, and that'd be a nice tech to have. Or honestly, just drop the Auroras, Charge Bug, Ferroseed, and pick up Politoed for 10 points.
Yeah.
And
I fully
but
agree with both of those sentiments. I think either is a solid pick. Either help your team out when the rain isn't up, or double down and really commit to the fact that you are always bringing rain.
or don't be a bitch, get a third weather, and really make this team pop off.
Yeah, go ahead and draft Torkoal. Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't think I could say it better than what I've already said. You're the best team in the league when you have rain up. When you don't, you're the worst, and that's why you're in second place. Because I don't think I could confidently put you at number 1 when you have that massive glaring weakness. And I don't know how you guys are gonna feel about my number 1 pick being, of course, Blank, the coach of the Detroit Darkrais. I think I forgot to mention team names for everyone since Shy.
It's fine. It's fine.
No one gives
But
a shit. It's only us that's going to
yeah,
WAP it
it's
and everyone.
fine. It's fine. Everything's
Yeah.
fine.
They'll see the team names. I'm sure you have them up.
I don't, because this doc
Ah,
doesn't have
you
a spot
failed
for them.
me.
But so my thought process looking at this team, it's like most good drafts have what I like to call the big red button. That Pokemon that you just send out when you aren't sure what's happening and you are confident they are going to do something. Like, I have Iron Valiant. Shy has Garchomp. Fucking
I have
Storm
Dugong.
has Annihilate. You don't have a big red button, in my opinion. You might have Landorus. I know you said Dugong, and I hate you for it. This
You're
team,
gonna get sent by Dugong.
this team
This
is
team
made
has
of big
three.
red buttons.
I mean, I see big three: Shiyu, Mawile, and Tyrantrum.
Yep, but even just on the defensive side, like if you aren't sure what someone is gonna click, if you are up against like a Dragapult that you aren't sure whether or not it's gonna be physical or special, either Tinglu or Cresselia just comes in. Okay, run the calc quick based on the damage that it took. Okay, that's the set now. I know what set they're running now. I know exactly what they're doing.
And I can just heal it off.
Yeah, it's
Or
such.
at least with Cresselia.
With Cresselia, you can just heal it off. With Tinglu, yeah, you're not healing that damage off necessarily, but you're barely taking any damage. Like, this team is made of big red buttons. And I fucking love it. I think every Pokemon except for his last 2 draft picks are absolutely terrifying in my opinion.
Yes.
And even Mr. Rhyme, like Mr. Rhyme has its place here with being a rapid spinner and having a screen cleaner. It's a pretty offensive team. Having Screen Cleaner to get rid of screens every time he comes in allows his other Pokemon to do things. Having Rapid Spin, so that way they're not getting chipped down by hazards, is amazing. And he doesn't have to remove his own, which Tinglu is amazing at setting up. Hisuian Electrode is one of the best Terra Captains you could have, in my opinion. But he has an even better one! With Rockhead, Head Smash, Tyrantrum, Terra Rock, kill everything! I fucking love that Pokemon. I love that pick. It is something that I did. I am biased. I convinced him to draft it. I'm also biased. I have Chi-Yu in another league, and I'm fucking loving it. But, like, it's so good. His speed tiers, I know he wasn't thinking about speed tiers when he drafted this team, but, like, I was talking to him about his draft. He was asking me about his last few picks. And so I was looking at it, and I was like, you accidentally drafted amazing speed tiers. Like,
yeah.
Everything kind of just fits in neatly to just work. Typing wise, yeah, you're weak to fighting slightly. Crobat, kinda, you can build a bulky Crobat that hardwalls just about any fighting type. Cresselia takes fighting moves like a champion, and so many of your Pokemon can just kinda hit them back for such insane damage. Mega Mawile clicks Play Rough, and I can't think of a single fighting type that's living that. You have a big fire weakness, but Tyrantrum, Chi-Yu, and Keldeo are all resistant to it, and Keldeo is like the best answer to a fire type, in my opinion. It's amazing. And yeah, I don't even want to get too far into his other things because there are definitely areas where this team is lacking. Like it doesn't have a lot of momentum. It doesn't have great priority. It has one Pokemon with knockoff like Mega Mawile. So many other parts of this team make up for that.
Yeah, and he doesn't have. Is it only Crobat and Mr. Rhyme that has removal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is a little
two
unfortunate.
very good removers, but
Which in some aspects that removal doesn't really matter because you just get Chi-Yu in once at the right spot, and the game's just done.
Yeah, and I think the same can be said for Tyrantrum or Mega Mawile. If Mega Mawile comes in and all they really have left is offensive Pokemon, you click Sucker Punch, you finish the game. If Tyrantrum comes in with a Choice Scarf at the right moment, clicks the Terra button, you might just win. Like, he just...
Which honestly, those 3 Mons are their own win condition. You just start with Chi-Yu, and then you eventually go to Choice Scarf Tyrantrum, and then you finish with Mawile.
Literally. Like, those 3 can win matches by themselves. You don't need the other 3 Pokemon on that team, but you have amazing options. you have Ting Lu to set up the hazards and chip things down, so that way, because yeah, Tyranium doesn't have the highest attack stat, so even with that insanely strong move and the Terror Rock boosting it, it's not always the best option. But with that little bit of chip, it's killing things all of a sudden. Like, I genuinely, when I started doing my power rankings and taking my notes, I was not expecting this team to rank very highly. I was thinking it was going to be around 5th, just based off of like my preliminary thoughts on it. But as I started looking at it and thinking about it, I genuinely like I know Blank is probably the least experienced coach in this league, and I know that it's going to be an uphill battle for him. But if there's any team he could have drafted to make playoffs and potentially win the league, it is this one.
Yeah, I can say, as this is my first week opponent, this team hurts. I have done a number of the calcs already, and yeah, this team hurts. I do gotta say, like we have said, Voltage's team, definitely, if he just rounded out that water bit, I could see it easily overtaking this team in terms of just ranking. But overall, and part of it is also, I just don't know if just looking at Blank's team, if it's just because of, like, all the big scary buttons that I am giving it power ranking, or if it is just actually solid.
I mean, even just looking at it defensively, like, it covers its own weaknesses very well. Like, it has those accidentally really good speed tiers. Like, it makes for a good draft. Sure, they're not necessarily synergistic. Like, none of these Pokemon necessarily help each other out all that much. They're a lot of just individually very strong Pokemon. But sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see, one, how Blank plays this team, and also how everyone else in the league kind of approaches dealing with this team. Because I think if you can come up with like a good plan for the team, and you don't get just screwed over by like some hack somewhere, just getting critted every single time TU decides to exist, then like, yeah, it's gonna be like a really nice battle to watch. But I think this team, of all the teams, definitely is going to ask the most prep work.
Absolutely. I am not looking forward to fighting this team personally. I don't know when I fight him. I haven't looked at the schedule, but I don't know what I'm gonna do for a lot of these Pokemon. And I think, Shy, do you have anything to say? Because I don't.
You battle him week 3.
Interesting. I'm not ready for that. You want to take my
Yeah,
spot?
no, I'm fine. The only thing that I noticed is, like you said, like he has this fighting and also ground weakness to most of his mons.
Yeah.
But like he used to have Cresselia, Celesteela, and Crobat, which are either flying or levitate. So he just fucking ignore that shit, and your second typing, fucking ignore that stuff. We're just gonna eat the hit. Like this team is threatening on so many levels. Like Cresselia, amazing setup sweeper. Like I have been 6-0'd by Cresselia before. With just Calm Mind and Moonlight. This thing is crazy thick, but it also has decent attacking stats for a purely defensive mon.
Yeah.
And
Fuck that, Chris.
sorry, what?
Fuck offensive Cresselia.
It's
Yeah,
fun
just
though.
fucking slap a choice specs on that thing. You're not expecting that, and then you switch in expecting it to do like weak or use Calm Mind or something, but it just hits you with a fucking psychic. What are you going to do about it? Like, damn. Eat ass. Eat ass and cry. You know, just not much negative you can say about it. Like, there's a lack of, I would say a lack of setup, except from Ting Lu, which is a great setup mon because it does it great and survives every fucking hit coming at it. But I would at the same time like to see more. But at the same time, I think this team is perfect just because it brings so much chaos to every game.
I think my biggest complaint is that it's going to run into it's going to run into an issue where he wants to bring the same 6 Pokemon every week. I think Shiyu is always coming, Tyrantrum is always coming. Tyrantrum is most likely always going to Terra, which means Electrode has even less reason to come. Mega Mawile is always gonna show up. King Lu is always gonna show up. That's already 4 Pokemon. Celesteela and Cresselia both really want to come, although Keldeo might fight for that position some weeks. I can definitely see arguments for Crobat coming, but I find it really hard to ever see him bringing Mr. Rhyme, which is unfortunate.
See, I don't actually think that Tyrannosaur's going to come every week. I look at this team immediately. Chiyu, Celesteela every week. I do see coming, but I feel like a number of these other members that you can play with, and he can actually have a little bit of variety with the team building. I think it's one of those things. The team's overall one note because if someone can weather the hits, which is highly unlikely that any battle with this team is going to go very long, just because you can't.
Yeah.
Unless you're trying to get into a stall fest with Celesteela, in which case, don't love yourself.
Yeah, that would be about 50 turns of Cell, and Celesteela will probably win.
Celesteela does win. There's not many things that beat Celesteela one-on-one. But it's one of those things. There's not like really hazards here to set up.
Yeah,
there's not
there's Ting
recovery. There's just hit button.
Yeah.
So.
No, I definitely I agree with a lot of those points. It's just like that defensive core of Tinglu, Cresselia, Celesteela, and then the offensive core of Chiyu, Mega Mawile, and Tyrantrum. It just I love it. I love it so much. And I think that is where we will end this here. I'm going to try to do like weekly going over the matches. I don't know how well that'll work. My main goal, especially because a lot of people are new here, is I want to kind of go over the matches and think from like someone who doesn't know a lot going into it. Was that necessarily a misplay, or were you doing the best you could with the information you had? And try to help you guys learn as well as justify a lot of the plays that you made. And a lot of the choices that you make. But I don't know how often I'm going to do that, if at all.
I will harass him to do it, and then I'll make sure I'm in those videos, and I'll make sure that I only give you the worst advice. Like, come on, why did you guys actually bring the mons that you drafted? Just bring whatever mons you want and completely fuck up the draft.
Just be like Panda and bring Caterpie.
Just break the rules.
See, I thought you were going to bring up the time that I mixed up fucking Umbreon and Vaporeon between 2 different leagues.
No, we don't talk about that. No, we don't talk about that. So yeah, have a good one, guys, and I will see you in the next one if I do another one.